Hi everybody.
Hello.
You may notice that there is about 105 kilos of missing Aryan perfection over the far side just there. And if you're just listening, you will notice that there is not the sound of a massive arse moving around.
Squeaking all over the leather sofa.
That is because Johnny is away on holiday, so it's just me and Yusef today. And we are going to be talking about how to get lean for your summer holidays.
This is actually take two.
This is technically take two. We had a technical problem, but this
10
time
minutes in of pure gold, how to get shredded for summer gold.
So if this is not as good, then it's not our fault. We already gave up our best. So, how to get lean for your summer holidays. I did a little Instagram post about this yesterday and had an awful lot of messages coming back, not least of all because it's June and a lot of people will have realised, shit, I'm going away on holiday within the next 8 weeks and I'm maybe not as lean or as muscular as I want to be and I'm going to have to take my top off on the beach or I'm going to wear a bikini or whatever it might be. The point that I think struck a chord with a lot of people was what I said about the typical approach for getting lean for holidays. And if you have a look online, a lot of the resources that you will find about how to get lean will focus on potentially fitness competitions or long-term, slow deficit fat loss approaches. The crucial difference between stepping on stage and going on holiday to Ibiza or Marbella is that when you step on stage, all that you're going to do is flex and tense. When you go out to Marbella or Ibiza, you're going to be drinking Corona and having baguette all day, every day. Baguette. Just one baguette. One huge fuck-off baguette. Yeah, you take a baguette out. You know, taking a baguette out with you on holiday. Just a long baguette. And then
I think this is where the alcohol reference goes. Is there some kind of drink called...
Baguette, no.
No, you do mean baguette.
Baguette, yeah. Just
La baguette.
La baguette, yeah. So
is it le baguette? Don't know.
I'm not sure. It's something. You're going to have a lot of carbs. And what happens is people will drill their diet into the ground, drop carbs out completely. Everyone's got that ex-bodybuilder, current bodybuilder friend in the gym. Yeah, mate, well, what you need to do, is...
2 scoops, strawberry.
Yeah, on a morning. And then fish and a rice cake at midday. And it's just like all that you're doing is creating an environment in which your body will absorb Corona like a fucking sponge. And so many times I went away on a holiday, I drilled myself into the ground on like a 1,500 calorie per day allowance, got out on holiday, looked peeled to bits for one day. The next morning looked even better because I was dehydrated to hell. And then as soon as I had that first breakfast in the hotel, I just balloon out. There's no shape left. And any size that I did have 8 weeks ago has been lost due to this catastrophic deficit that I'm in. So what I wanted to do was try and put together a little bit of a structure and some principles that you can take away if you've got between 4 and 10 weeks, something like that, until your holiday. So are we right in saying that if you've got less than 4 weeks until you go on holiday, it's going to be very difficult to make a profound change?
Honestly, if you've got less than 4 weeks, don't bother. Just carry on as normal.
So
because
don't
you're just
train
going to
at
be
all?
making yourself suffer needlessly. Like, you're not going to elicit any change in your body visibly in 4 weeks' time. And I think what you said is interesting because right now, it's the 2nd of June. It's a common question that we get in terms of inquiries. I'm sure you've got some messages about this stuff as well. And it's endemic of the mindset that we have towards fitness, which is, shit, I've got 28 days. I've got to drastically undo the last 35 years of my bad sedentary habits and make a change in my body from now. And it's like, what's the rush? Like, people often, there's no thought given to it until suddenly, I've booked my flight, shit, I need to make a change.
Yeah.
And 2nd of June, it's cutting it fine, to be honest. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. As you said, 4 to 10 weeks. So if you have, say, 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So if you're going away on holiday after sort of the start of July, start to mid-July, up until the end of the summer, you're sweet.
Well, yeah, you're not sweet, but you're
It's salvageable.
you're definitely salvageable by that point. And I think there's a lot of key principles here, but the first thing is that muscle gain is a very slow process. And so all we can expect at this point is to lose fat.
Okay.
And we were saying this on the first take, that my favorite thing when you're looking at a Facebook photo of someone's like summer holiday, and it's like 6 lads, all 5 of them 18% body fat, one of them is like 6% body fat and huge and just shredded. And it's like, odd one out there.
Yeah, that's the guy who has it as part of his lifestyle as opposed to a crash diet.
Exactly, like that is the result of the 10 years of the previous training. So there's no point that if you're worried about how you're going to look relative to your swole mate, that you're going to be comparable. Mm-hmm. So don't set that as your reference point. Like, realize that if you are, and so the numbers wise, 8 weeks away, 80 kilo man, 18% body fat, you diet.
Just to interject there, am I right in saying that the principles are the same for men and women that we're going to be talking about here?
For this time period, it's the same for sure.
Okay, so both genders can broadly take the same approach that we apply here.
Yeah, exactly. So for women, 18% body fat will actually look quite lean.
18% body fat will be fucking peeled.
I mean, you as a woman, you pretty much start to get abs at 15% body fat. So if you're not sure about these ranges, don't get hung up on the percentage. I use this as kind of an anchor point, but don't try and get calipered or anything. Basically, if you're carrying a bit of extra fat and your abs are not visible, you've got no deltoid tricep separation, you're probably around 18% body fat, and then, linearly fatter as that goes up. So so if you're around that, let's say 80 kilo man, 8 weeks time, aggressive diet would mean 1% of your body weight lost per week, assuming you hit your average calories without fail for that time. And we have to hit the ground running. There's no time for fucking around when you've got 8 weeks to go. You can't ease yourself into this program. This is like, the time is already constrained.
That's definitely one of the things that I think people need to realise, that if you have left it as late as you've only got 8 weeks, and one of the things that we need to state from the beginning is 8 weeks sounds like ages, but physiologically, in terms of fat loss, eight weeks is a couple of seconds. Like, it's not a tremendously long amount of time.
Exactly.
And you have less time than you think.
You can't take liberties at this point.
So if you're planning to go away this winter, beginning your cut now 6 months in advance,
it's too long, even 6 months, unless it depends on how fat you are, I suppose.
Yeah. Beginning a fitness regime that works towards that.
If you've got 6 months, you've got time to even gain a bit of muscle and then
cut from there,
and then even reverse back up. But 8 weeks, not long enough. And so 1% of your body weight per week for 8 weeks at 80 kilos body weight is 800 grams of weight loss per week, 6.4 kilos of weight loss over 8 weeks. So that is going to make a visible difference in how you look.
It's going to be an awful lot, yeah.
It will. But that 1% of body weight loss per week is the top end of how much weight you should be losing each week. It's going to impact on, as you said, like how you feel, how the potential rebound at the end. So obviously, the faster you lose fat, the higher the cost at the end. And so this is something we have to bear in mind. Anyway, the principles are the same, that we want to be lifting weights to retain as much muscle as possible, even if you're a woman. Something that the most common and the most heartbreaking fitness mistake I see with women, and I'm glad you said the principles are the same for men and women, is that the woman who's like, I want to drop a couple of dress sizes, I'm going to pound the cardio and eat just a bit of cabbage every day or some celery. And it's like, you are only going to look like a smaller version of yourself, but just as shapeless. And your dress might be a smaller size, but you're not actually going to have any shape. You're not going to look any better than
100%. And the other thing as well is that now, especially since Instagram and fitness chicks and stuff are a lot more prevalent, having a good set of legs as a woman, like a sort of a shapely set of legs, is kind of cool now, right? Like, it's not obscene for CrossFit girls to go out wearing dresses and stuff like that. Like, it's actually almost desirable. Like,
definitely.
I think probably if you asked girls,
and people look more muscular on Instagram because you can't tell scale. But when you see some of these CrossFit girls in real life, they're absolute babes, and it's not, you see them on a photo and you think, she's a bit big, but actually they've got small frames and they just fit.
Still very, very womanly.
Definitely, if you put them in a dress, then.
So, what you're saying is that we need to hit the ground running. We don't have any time to lose. That lifting weights rather than pounding cardio is a good start. So for me, I'll put forward what my proposal would be for a pre-holiday routine and why, and then I'll let you critique it and I'll let you put yours forward. So I am the sort of person who is inherently very lazy, and I need to stack the deck in my favour. You may have noticed, due to the fact that we do endless episodes of life hacks, that shortcuts to an effective outcome are something that I value quite highly. For me, I need to try and make all of the right decisions as easy as possible. What that means is I would get up in the morning, I would have a black coffee, I would go for a walk on a morning. Reason for that is, firstly, it allows me to clear my head. Secondly, it allows me to get a little bit of low intensity, steady state cardio in. Now, the LISS versus high intensity debate, I'm not really that bothered about. For me personally, I do CrossFit a lot. So my high end power endurance output gets looked after by my training methodology.
Should probably clarify that you do CrossFit not to burn calories. You do CrossFit because you enjoy CrossFit.
Yes. Yeah. It's not a goal.
Strategy. It's fat loss.
It just happens to be the methodology that I'm following. But on a morning, if you get up and you go for a walk, you've got some fresh air in you, you've had your coffee, you're set for the day. So that's a few different
big wins just
exactly that you've put in the bag. And the low intensity steady state stuff's nice. Get back, prep your food for the day. Either pay someone to a meal prepping company. There's loads, especially in Newcastle, Aurora Kitchen, Spoonhead Nutrition. There's a load of different guys that do awesome food prepping in Newcastle. So check them out or look in your local area. If not, prep your food yourself on a morning. Get yourself out for the day. For me personally, I would train around about midday or a little bit earlier. It means that my training is done for the day and I don't have to worry about it. Going on to diet and going on to my calories, I would tend to have between 200 and 300 grams on a training day, around about 200 grams on a recovery day, and about 100 grams on a rest day.
Of what?
Carbs.
Okay.
Sorry. Did I not say carbs? Did I just say gram? Did I just assume that everyone knew what I was talking about?
You might have said carbs, I might have, but yeah.
Straight over. Of carbs. Protein and fat would generally stay the same. A little bit more fat on my rest days. Some of the strategies that I use for curbing hunger would be natural set yogurt on a nighttime, which is without a doubt the single best approach for stopping yourself from trying to cheat on your diet. Firstly, if you don't want to cheat on your diet, do not have junk in the house. If you, like me, have got a sweet tooth and you do not have chocolate bars in the house, you will not eat them. You can't eat what isn't in your cupboard. And going to the shop, getting yourself up at 10 o'clock at night because you've got a craving for a chocolate and walking all the way to the shop.
At least you built up some steps that way.
Yeah, you've got some more low intensity cardio in, but it's probably not gonna it's not gonna happen. You're gonna protect yourself. So yeah, for me, I would natural set yogurt, scoop of protein powder, some mixed blueberries, and unless you're an absolute animal, that will satiate pretty much anyone's craving for something sweet. The macros on it are unbelievable. Like it'll fit. You can probably add it on top of any diet, I think. And it'll be like, 120 calories? Something like that for a big bowl of proteiny, fruity niceness. And then you're sweet from there. So
berries are like wizardry as well. Like considering how low calorie density they are for what you get.
Yeah. There's a lot of volume and they taste pretty good. So yes, my few little tips would be get up on a morning. If you want to do the high intensity stuff, then go and do some hill sprints, something like between 10 to 20 rounds with 30 seconds rest, run up a hill, then walk back down, wait for 30 seconds at the bottom and then go again. If you can do that 10 times up a moderately steep hill that it has output for about 30 seconds, something like that. So you're getting like 2 to 1 work to rest, something like that. 2 to 1 rest to work. That's a good way to get some cardio in a morning. Then if you can train later on in the evening or the afternoon, make sure that you're lifting weights. Don't get stuck or hung up on the toning from going to super high rep ranges, still focus on the moneymaker sets, which are between sort of 6 to 14 reps at a weight which is moderately heavy, and still testing. It's unlikely that you're going, unless you're new to training, that you're going to PR during this particular period. But yeah, that would be broadly my approach. What are your thoughts?
So I like that you split it out into a daily schedule, and also the principle of make the good decisions as easy as possible and make the bad decisions as hard as possible is definitely the way to set up your environment for success. Because if you have to consciously make the good decision and it's, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops each time, then by 5 p.m. the decision fatigue sets in, which is a real thing. Like you tired, you think, well, I'm just gonna. Well, yeah,
I'll miss training,
chocolate bars in the cupboard, any of that, definitely. The yogurt thing, there's some evidence behind this as well, which is interesting.
Okay.
People have done studies looking at if you feed someone yogurt with a little spoon and then see how many calories they eat subsequently in the rest of the day, it's lower than if they were to eat other types of food. And
there was an equivalent amount of calories.
Yeah, so they compare calorie matched amounts of tuna, carbs, crackers, milk, whey, all those kind of things, and whey and yogurt were the highest.
So in terms of satiety, you're gonna feel better from that. On a side point, on the making sure that it's easy for you to stack the deck in your favor, that includes prepping your food. So roll back the clock from the morning that you need to prep your food. If you've got chicken in the freezer and you haven't defrosted it, when you wake up the next morning, you can't cook the chicken that's still frozen.
So you default to Cocoa Pops.
Exactly. Yep. So you think, oh, well, fuck it, the diet's gone for today, so I'll just order in some takeaway, or I'll do whatever. I go to Greg's, I get a pastry. It is all about making the good decisions as easy as possible and the bad decisions as hard as possible. Remembering that you are going to have you're already using up an awful lot of willpower here. Dr. Roy Baumeister's study that he did with turnips, where he had 2 groups of people in a room. One group had cookies and turnips, and another group just had cookies. The group that just had cookies were allowed to eat them or not if they wanted. The group that had cookies and turnips were told they couldn't eat the cookies and could only eat the turnips. So they were then given a cognitively demanding task to do afterwards. And the group that wasn't allowed to eat the cookies gave up 50% faster than the other.
Wow! So it's a finite resource, willpower.
Yes.
And so that's such an interesting study. Like, do not trust the future version of yourself to make the right decision. Treat yourself like a little child, because
you are.
Well, that's it. Like another thing on decision fatigue. We know that juries and even judges, like fucking professionally trained senior people in the legal industry sector, will judge people as guilty more often in the afternoons than in the mornings, just because screw him, he's guilty. Can't be asked to.
Is that a statistically significant figure?
Yeah, and it's also related to blood sugar levels as well.
Was it not something to do with biscuits? Did you not tell me? Was it whether they'd been given biscuits or been given food or something like that?
I've not seen that one.
Maybe I've run it along from the blood sugar thing a little bit.
Okay, I mean, there's also correlations with blood sugar. So, so basically...
So if you're in court, bribe the jury with biscuits and make sure that you get
a morning session, biscuits, you're sweet.
Laughing.
Yeah, to be honest.
Kill someone.
Stack it in your favour.
Yeah.
So, the other thing you said about cardio, I love a good morning walk as well.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It's not done to try and burn calories. And getting into this chasing your tail of trying to do cardio so that you can earn the right to eat more calories and eat them back and all this, don't get into that cycle at all. Remember that the reason you are losing fat is 100% from your calorie intake, and just leave it there. So let the fat loss be driven by your diet. So let the muscle retention be driven by your training.
Okay, so you wouldn't say G-Flux Theory, which...
So to answer that, sorry.
Can you briefly explain what G-Flux Theory is?
So G-Flux Theory is that the effect on your body in terms of cellular turnover and body composition of eating a calorie deficit of 1,000 calories is different if that deficit is created from eating 2,000 and burning 3,000 compared to eating 4,000 and burning 5,000. So there's still the net deficit is the same at the end, but actually the body's had to go through a lot more processing to achieve the same deficit, and that it would have a more favourable effect on your body composition to do the latter rather than the former. That is true, but again, telling someone to do that when they want the minimum effective dose, the risk is that they end up chasing their tail, and people always underestimate the number of they underestimate the number of calories that they eat back from cardio, and they overestimate the number of calories that they think that they've burned from cardio.
Okay.
I knew a guy who gained 20 kilos in 2 months, I think, and he just got really fat. And it was because on Myfitnesspal, he played basketball, and he was like, oh, well, I ended 90 minutes of basketball on here, and it says that it burns 5,000 calories, so I've been eating 6,600. I'm like...
Look at the scales, look at the mirror.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously not burning that many calories.
And I don't know whoever entered that bit into because Myfitnesspal is just user-generated.
It's like Wikipedia for...
Oh, yeah. So anyone
exercise, isn't it?
So maybe some like Michael Jordan came along and was like, oh, well,
5,000 calories, yeah.
Like, okay, NBA level basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Fine. So yeah, basically don't get into that game. As Chris said, walking, increasing your general NEAT, so your non-exercise activity, like, taking the stairs, getting off the bus at an extra stop earlier, just general moving around, not sitting like a fat turnip during the day, fine. But don't try and count the calories that you're burning when you're hoovering the house, and just see that. And the other reason why we say lift weights, even if you're not trying to gain muscle, is that lifting weights and the effect that it has on your body is so much more biologically expensive than going for a walk or a run. Because when you lift weights, you're tearing muscle, you're breaking down the tissue, your body then has to marshal a lot of resources to build that back up again, which is very expensive in terms of calories, which is what you want. You also said don't fall into the trap of toning and doing
high
reps, 15 plus or whatever. Remember, when you're in a calorie deficit, you're never going to be gaining muscle anyway. So if you're a woman and you're afraid of gaining too much muscle, common fear, just like I go to the library and I'm sometimes scared that I might get too clever, so I have to leave early. I went for a jog once and I was like, no, because I might win the 100-meter gold medal, so I better stop.
I think that's such a good point. Like,
I leave work early as well because I don't want to make too much money.
Yeah, like girls do have this fear of, oh well, I'm not going to lift too heavy because what if I start to get arms that I don't want or cap shoulders that I don't want? Like, there are professional bodybuilders, female bodybuilders, who spend hours and hours and hours every single week in the gym desperately trying to gain
on drugs as well,
and they look like they lift. And your fear is that by moving from the 8 kilo to the 10 kilo dumbbells,
it's insulting to them actually.
Yeah,
to the people who are busting their asses.
It is not that easy to gain muscle. Trust me, I've been trying to do it for 10 years. Like, it's really quite hard. So, okay, so we're talking about when we get to training, someone's going to go in, they're going to be training how many days a week? 7?
So in a deficit, 3 times a week is all you need, because all you're trying to do is hold on to the muscle that you already have. Okay. When you're trying to gain muscle, you want to be training 4 or 5 days a week if you can, schedule permitting. Is there a potential here? So your criticism about G-Flux Theory aside, is there a potential here that if someone was to train, if they enjoy their training schedule and they're able to train between sort of 3 to 6 times a week, if they're able to up that frequency, that may afford them a little bit more on the calorie side? Sure, if they have the time and the freedom to do that, then why not? Like, as long as you... But again, if we're saying, I think, personally, a lot of the people that will be listening that have got the holiday that's coming up, I think, especially for 8 weeks, you can probably bin yourself. Like, you can go balls to the wall and go, right, okay, well, I can train for five days a week. And for this time period, it would be helpful because, as you said, you haven't got much time, so you may as well just do as much as you can. So, so what's the split? The approach that, just meta speaking here, like big picture, the approach that I would prefer is to start 6 months earlier, have a much easier time. Yeah. And also bear in mind that the difference you're going to make in the next 8 weeks compared to if you, you might look a bit better for this summer holiday, but next year's summer holiday, if you carry on the momentum, you're going to look worlds better. Yeah, so, no, for sure. But again, we are
creatures that like to leave things until the last minute. So let's take into account the fact that as soon as people go away on holiday, they're going to be eating and drinking disproportionately higher than they were.
Yep.
While they were doing this diet to get themselves to look good.
And
away.
you said yourself that you went on a 1,500 calorie diet and then you rebounded and looked watery for the rest of the.
Oh yeah, holiday. You have one day where you look awesome. You have a second day where you look even better, and then as soon as you have the hangover food, you just fill out. And anyone who's listening, who's done a crash diet for a holiday, knows that this is the case. And you get there on holiday and you're like, I don't understand. Like, I was so lean all the way up until this point, and I've got out here, and now I'm not lean anymore. Now, well, you're no longer training. You're eating 80% of your diet is coming from alcohol, 80% of your calories coming from alcohol and carbohydrates, and you haven't had either of those for 8 weeks. So again, for me,
like expenditures suddenly dropped, intake suddenly gone up.
Yeah, and you're wondering why you don't look as good as you did in the mirror 2 days ago. So for me, I think that trying to increase output and not drill calories super, super low, if you can get your calories closer during the prep phase to where they're going to be when you're away, you're going to be less sensitive. Can you explain about why having low calories in the build-up will make you more sensitive to them once you get out there?
So, I mean, I made this mistake myself on the meditation retreat, for example, as well, where I'd lost loads of weight from being in hospital. Actually, I wasn't dieting per se, and then suddenly went for it. And obviously, when you're in hospital and you're ill, your expenditure's quite high because there's so much
immunity
stuff
takes
going
an
on.
awful lot of energy, right?
And so then I went from that to having recovered and sit for 10 days in silence with unlimited vegetarian food, so low protein food, no activity, no training, and I did regain a lot of fat. But yeah, it's simply that there is an abundance of food and alcohol, as you said. Alcohol will stimulate your appetite further. You can create a reactive hypoglycemia, which will make you hungry and get the munchies afterwards. Plus, the general lack of restraint that the inhibition, the disinhibition that you get from drinking. So all of that will contribute just to overeating. Plus, as you said, it's hot weather, you're in the sun.
Yeah, physiologically as well, I'm going to guess that your metabolism will have dropped during the prep phase.
Yeah.
Because intake of food is going down and...
Intake's gone down and you've lost weight. So your maintenance calories have dropped, even if there was no metabolic damage per se. You've still...
And then that means that when you get out there, that the danger is...
overshooting.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it's very difficult. I think another thing as well to consider is one of the most fun things about going away on holiday is the planning and the anticipation for it as you build up to it. Now, that anticipation, you can use the anticipatory energy to motivate you to go and train, and that's good. That's a good use of that energy. But one thing that you don't want to do is absolutely hate your life for 8 to 10 weeks in the build up to this holiday. I think people need to appreciate that if you're below 13% body fat, 13 to 12% body fat.
So you're approaching outline of your abs.
Yeah, outline of your abs with some visible vascularity, maybe in bicep and forearm. Like, to 90% of the people on the beach, you're going to look awesome. Like, you look like you lift, and you're probably shredded to even like a slightly lower proportion of those people.
So yeah, Johnny mentioned this, and I've definitely experienced, I'm sure you have as well, where like if you've been training for some time and you're like trying to diet from 13 to 11 or from 9% to 7%, and you're like, oh, I've got to make these fine tunes. Oh, actually, I've lost a bit of size on my delt. And actually, like, these differences matter only to you.
Yeah.
No one else. As far as anyone else concerned on the beach, you're either a bodybuilder or you're not a deadly doubler. Yeah. And so, like, and people are easily... Someone who doesn't train, like the untrained eye, will look at a guy who's 65 kilos and has abs and be like, oh, he's huge.
Yeah.
Because...
the illusion is there, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
So getting hung up on the small details compared to if you're just generally in shape, even if it's a few percentage points out of your own reference point.
Yeah.
It's such a big source of insecurity.
Yeah. And I think as well, like especially if you've been lifting for a little while, I've got a lot of friends who I know that, they train consistently, but maybe they're not super strict with their diet.
Oh, no, we can shit at the minute, don't it? And you're like, well,
mate, it really, really, you shouldn't be obsessing over it. Like, if you're walking around at 10%, allow yourself, do you know what it is? Here's something to think about. We're talking about this rebound effect as soon as you get out there and you start having beer and all the rest of it. I bet that a significant proportion of people who are sat at about 10% body fat, let's say, which is probably fairly maintainable for people who train consistently, if they went into a holiday on maintenance calories or just a little bit above with a slightly increased training output, that after day 3 or 4, they would look better than the same person that they were had they drilled themselves into the ground with a deficit and then got this rebound effect.
So when you said that day 2 and 3 of the holiday you looked your best and then got worse, is simply that, you've carved up almost.
Yeah.
But then you keep carving up more and more until it just...
And your body's just wholly unprepared to deal with it.
So the solution that I would propose to this is the simplest way as well, meaning that you finished your diet, your aggressive approach that you've had to take because you're an idiot and you've left it until the last minute, rather than trying to track your calories while you're away and stressing out over it, pick the shittest, most pointless meal of the day, usually breakfast, especially if you're in Ibiza and you're in a hotel and you're getting boiled eggs and croissant or something.
You've never been to Ibiza. It's not boiled eggs and croissants for breakfast.
No. So what would it be for breakfast?
Pillars, probably.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's excellent.
Well, they're thermogenic, aren't they?
Yeah, so fine.
I'm talking about caffeine.
So stay on well, I'm not going to endorse having pills for breakfast, but yeah, like pick the meal which is the most pointless, doesn't provide a social purpose, doesn't really help with your hunger. Most people find that they just eat breakfast because they feel like they have to, or they're told that they should.
What about the hangover?
Okay, if breakfast serves you hangover, great. But what I'm saying is, like, pick the meal that doesn't really contribute to your day in that sense. Like, I know a lot of people that are like, oh, well, people always tell me breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so I'd eat it anyway, even though I'm never hungry in the morning. It's like, well, don't eat it. Like, save it for the evening. Yeah. So do that. And then instantly you freed up an extra 400 or 500 calories or more that you can dedicate to drinking, to an evening meal, whatever you want. Yeah. Or restrict your eating window. That's another way of doing it. So pick 8 hours in the day.
Being frank, I think some of this is going to be difficult to do when you're away. If you've got a 5-day holiday,
this is going to be easier than tracking your calories and trying to.
Oh yeah, I just think that when you're hungover, like your willpower is the ebb is so low. Like,
so in that case, if it's not an option to change how you're eating while you're on holiday, then you need to prep over a longer period. Yeah, it's one or the other really, and I think the weight rebound is related slightly to the speed of weight loss, but more so to the amount of weight lost. And the way that you can counteract that is every time you've lost a bit of weight, hold out there for a while, establish a new set point, and then do a stepwise diet. And people that do that hold on to their weight loss more than people who just drop and then diet's over and let's just rebound.
So we're talking about not trying to go super, super low on the calories before we go away on holiday, because what that's going to end up doing is creating this environment for rebound effect, which ruins the hard-won leanness that you've just sacrificed 8 weeks or 10 weeks for, or whatever it might be. You're saying focus on muscular movements, focus on resistance training rather than relying on cardio. If someone does want to add cardio in, how do they do it?
So, but as long as we make those 3 days that you're lifting weights sacred, so, and then up it to 4 if you want to. This is assuming that you've got more space in your schedule to do 5 or 6 training sessions a week. Then fine, you've got the resistance training covered. Once you're training 3 or 4 times a week, there's very limited benefit, especially in a deficit, to adding in an extra few days of lifting weights, because you haven't got the fuel available to build the muscle. And so you may as well use your 5th and your 6th training day in a week to do some cardio. Okay. In which case, I would suggest do the cardio that you enjoy the most. So, because then you're more likely to stick to it. So if you hate rowing, but you're told that rowing is the best way to burn calories, then you're going to stick to it for a couple of weeks and fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
If you like hill sprints, I mean, if you're a nutter and you like hill sprints, then fine, do them. If, CrossFit is, and I've come full circle, not full circle, I've come 180 on this.
Yeah.
Because I realize, having seen the results it's had on you, CrossFit really, in a lot of ways, it's given you the community environment, the motivation to push yourself more than you would. There's a lot of volume that you're accumulating just from the amount of lifting in there.
Yeah.
And it's very high cardio demand as well. So it ticks all of those boxes. So really, as far as that goes,
just do CrossFit for 8 weeks.
Well, you could do. Yeah. I mean, if you're not used to training,
bad idea.
Going balls. I mean,
well, I think one of the problems that you'd have with going and doing CrossFit for something like this is that technically it's very demanding. The barriers to entry for a lot of the movements are actually quite high.
So this is it. You're not going to be able to hit the ground running in terms of intensity because
after 8 weeks, you're not even going to have learned all of the movements.
Yeah.
So I think maybe something like a boot camp might give you a little bit of external accountability.
Yeah, if you've got a trainer there that's able to adjust your technique and so on.
For me, doing cardio on your own it's pretty miserable, especially if you want to push yourself quite hard. But you can find almost everywhere. You can find a good boot camp class for a tenner a session, and if you're paying £10 once a week or twice a week, for if that's what it takes to get that cardio in, then cool.
Yeah, and the boot camp runners, the boot camp organizers want you to come back, so they're going to make it as fun as they can make it.
Yeah,
they'll have partner exercises and all that stuff. So
you get kidded into thinking that it's fun, but it's by the end of the session you actually look at what you've done to yourself and you think, fuck, this really hurt. And
that's a big advantage, and it's the same advantage for CrossFit, that there was no way that I would have, like when I came to CrossFit once or a couple of times, and it was grim, but there's no way that I would put myself through that on my own.
Yeah,
but it's because if you, when you're with a group and if you just start and be like, I'm leaving, then you're a dickhead. So
would you say that potentially during the prep to go away on holiday, getting another one of the guys who's also going away to be a training partner would be a good idea?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
As long as you don't mind that you both look better. If you just want to look better than your mate, then
this is the Highlander thing. Like, there can only be one.
Yeah, if you think it's a zero-sum game of like, you've got the group of people that you're going with, and there's only a certain amount of...
So sabotage them with, like, cake. Leave cake on their desk as much as possible.
Fine. So buy a load of cake. So basically, 50 quid, either spend it on boot camp for your mate or spend it on cake for your mates.
Yeah.
Depending on how Machiavellian you are. And then...
Relatively, I haven't lost any weight, but everyone else in my friend circle has gained fucking loads.
Still achieves the same object. Bloody hell. Right, so actually, sack everything we've said so far... Get all of your mates to gain 6.4 kilos over the 8 weeks.
Which is probably a lot easier.
Gain 1% of their body weight per
week, yeah. Fine. 800, yeah. Easy. Well, we've come to a solution there. Okay, so find yourself a training partner. Preferably one who you're going away with, because it means that you're both working towards the same schedule. You're looking at resistance training 3 to 4 times a week.
Yep.
If you want to add some more training in, then another 1 to 2 sessions of
enjoyable cardio.
Of cardio in whatever it is. We're talking between 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, if you can spare it.
Yeah. I think I do think that a lot of people's... I think your schedule is unrepresentatively busy.
Unreasonably tight.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons that... So I don't do cardio because, 1, I'm lazy. 2, my schedule is so tight and I have to go for the highest yield, the lowest hanging fruit first. But yeah, the other thing outside of cardio is the non-exercise activity that we talked about. So
I'm terrible with this.
Yeah, me too. If you work at a desk a lot, then try and push the daily activities. Just fit it in. So it's not formal cardio. It's walking to the shop, walking to work.
Have a walking lunch,
stairs.
maybe something like that.
Exactly. Anything that involves movement but isn't formalized, like you don't have to put on your shorts and go and do something for.
All of this will help to not let your metabolism drop too far through the floor as well, which will also mitigate this rebound effect once we get out there. So we've got the 3 to 4 sessions in terms of muscular training. For that, push-pull legs, something similar?
Yeah, so the simplest way, and I like this, was from Spencer Nadolski, he's a family physician and talks to this is the kind of standard exercise advice he gives to patients, which I think is great because you can't get it wrong, is go to the gym 3 times a week, do some kind of pushing, some kind of pulling, and some kind of legs in each session for.
Oh, okay. So do that in every session.
Well, or as you said, you can do a push session, and a leg session.
Yeah.
Did I say push?
I said push.
Push.
Yeah.
Push, pull, legs on each of the days.
Okay. I think for some people that may be a more easy to work out split. So have you got any resources on propanefitness.com that the guys can have a little bit of a look at?
Yeah, we have. So if you go to propanefitness.com and search for the propane protocol infographic, there is a full training program laid out for you. It's 4 days a week. It covers all of the bases. It's structured in a way that you will avoid injury and maintain structural balance. And it's all laid out in there. And there's a diet framework in there as well.
Yeah,
so
it's just a big long image, right? It's a sort of a big, not animated, it's like a big illustration.
Full infographic.
You scroll for a little while, but everything's in there.
Exactly. Everything that, the only thing I would change about that is because we're talking about a short time frame, you're going to need to be more aggressive with the calories.
Uh-huh.
And if you want to really take things up a notch and guarantee that you will lose, so we have a program called the 28-day shred, which typically people lose 5% of their body weight within 28 days.
Wow.
So that is done, and it's relatively easy as far as losing 5%. It's the easiest way that we know of to lose that much of your body weight. So you can get
this is push the red panic button stations, right? This is 4 weeks till I go away. I need to do it. And how much is that?
That's £67.
Okay.
And you'll get lifetime access to that. You get support, weekly calls, 2 one-on-one calls with your coach, and it's basically everything that you need. Just
that's cool.
Done for you. So basically,
if people want to step it up a notch, then they've got that as a resource. If they want the free resource, then they've got propanefitness.com and search for the propane protocol. And if they are too headstrong or lazy or anything else to not want to do either of those things, then we've got it laid out for them here. Train, resistance training 3 to 4 times a week, a couple of sessions of cardio. Make sure that you get someone who you can train with, get some external accountability. In terms of diet, typically for the typical sized man, so 5'11", 80 kilos, you need to be looking at about 2,000 to sort of 1,800 calories, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, start at 2,000. Take your daily body weight every morning, post poo, pre-breakfast, naked, at the same time.
Yeah. I'll put a link to the set of Sandler scales that I've got, which were £6.
Great.
And they're perfectly accurate. And use Myfitnesspal to track your weight. So Myfitnesspal is also free. Create an account, download the app on your phone, put your weight in every single day, and it'll track it over time. It'll make sure that you know.
It's why it's important to get it every day. And if you're using the Sandler digital scales, then that's going to give you a more accurate reading.
Yeah.
Take that daily body weight every morning over the week. Calculate the average. So if Myfitnesspal might do this.
It does a week on week.
Fine. Our propane spreadsheets will do this as well. Or if you use a Withings or Withings Wi-Fi scale, that's super fancy. That'll like link with
Johnny would be jizzing in his pants if he was here.
Oh god, it goes to the grid, and then like some guy comes out with an envelope and they cut you watermelon for you, and it's amazing. But no, I think once you've got that, then you can start to see whether the 2,000 calories is producing the expected.
If someone doesn't know what 2,000 calories is, how can they roughly eat 2,000 calories a day? So we're talking man, 80 kilos, 2,000 calories, female, maybe 1,600, typically between 50 and 60 kilos, something like that.
Yeah, maybe go slightly lower if you've got a short time frame, maybe 1,500 or 1,400.
Okay.
But it has the thing is, the starting point is just a starting point to see how your weight's responding, and then you need to
because you might in that first week you might drop 2 kilos.
Oh yeah, in which case your calories are too low.
Yeah.
Or if your weight doesn't change and the calories are too high. So the adjustments have to be made week on week, and that's where the magic happens really. So and again, try and keep your average weight change between 0.5 and 1% of your body weight. If it goes too far above that, you start to step into cutting into your recovery too much and drop in testosterone, increase in cortisol, depression symptoms, all of that stuff.
I think another one of the things that we need to mention, we haven't mentioned so far, is that like, there are other costs, there are other things going on in your life outside of how good you're going to look for your holiday. And I alluded to this earlier on, like, you don't want to absolutely bin your life just to look a little bit leaner while you go away, especially seen as presumably this summer holiday is something that you're supposed to be looking forward to.
Yeah.
You don't want to go out
the whole
there.
period miserable.
Yeah, you know.
Which is why I'm saying start as early as possible,
Yeah.
you know, or like at least, fine. Follow the advice in this podcast, get shredded for the next 8 weeks or as much as you can, but keep up the momentum and focus on next year's holiday.
Definitely as well. Like, a lot of people will lean out for 8 weeks, go away, maybe have a little bit of this rebound that we've discussed here, but within 7 days of coming back, you could get back to the set point that you were at beforehand quite easily.
Oh, exactly. Don't think holidays are over, back to the...
Yeah, I've ruined it, I'm never going to be lean again. You're like, well, no, that's the exact opposite. So a structured and consistent training program is sort of number one. That's the zenith.
So what you and I have done is a proper diet, get lean once and for all. Last time I dieted was 2013. I spent 5 or 6 months getting bone shredded, like pancreas lean. Dick skin lean. And then gradually reverse dieted, which is systematically increasing the calories up to a point where body weight isn't influenced by it.
Yeah.
And then if it starts to spill over, then you pull calories back. Painstaking process. But what it's meant is that I've now topped out my calories.
Mm-hmm.
It supports your training. You're eating as much food as you want, really. You're very happy with the amount of food that you're eating, maintaining your post-diet condition. And I'm still reaping the benefits of that 5 years later.
Yeah. You're still abs lean.
Still abs lean thanks to that diet. So
you only need to get lean once.
Exactly. Get lean once properly, do it gradually, and then systematically reverse back.
Okay.
And then you set yourself for 5 years or for life, really.
So someone's gone away, they've managed to hold on to the training protocol, they've kept controlled with their diet up until then. Mm-hmm. If you've only got 8 weeks, are you allowing someone to have a refeed day, or are they just in the deficit every day?
Yeah, you can do a refeed day.
Okay, so you could have one day where you would maybe bump up your calories to 2,500 to 3,000 calories.
And I think that I'm glad you said that, because refeed can be quite a flexible meaning in some
you can undo all of the deficit for an entire week in one day of eating 10,000 calories.
Oh yeah, easily. So and when you're dieted, eating 10,000 calories is not beyond the realm of possibility.
So when we're talking about doing a refeed day, 1 day a week, or I would be more tempted to say 1 day every fortnight, especially given that you've got this shorter time frame.
Mm-hmm. Your calories are just 30% higher, for example. It's not like an absolute...
No, I think it's important. I know that it's important for me to work towards a day where I have a little bit more leniency. I can feel a little bit more satiated. Also, choose to do your refeed day on a day where you're training a muscle part that you really want to go for it on. Mm-hmm. If you are used to training in a deficit where your training quality maybe isn't quite where you're used to it or where you'd want it to be, if you have this day where you've eaten a little bit more, your training output's going to be so much better. You're going to go in, pump's going to be more improved, your level of strength's going to be more improved, energy levels, feeling of satiety,
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's going to be fueled by that refeed
There's
day.
a feeling of society there. Feeling of satiety. So, final thing, someone's gone away on holiday and they've come back.
Mm-hmm.
How do they then slowly recomp themselves back up? How do they do this re-diet that you've said so that they can maximize the return on all of the sacrifices they made in a couple of months leading up to this?
So someone's come back from holiday.
Yeah, they've gone away, they've maybe done the thing,
have they gained any weight while they're away?
Yeah, I think it's very, very prudent to assume that that's going to happen.
So rather than get into the self-flagellation, self-punishment cycle straight away, come home, restore your momentum with training.
Yeah,
just
I think
get back on the training again.
That's number one.
Yeah, just eat normally for a while. Don't try and go into a big crazy cycle. Do that for a couple of weeks. Set yourself a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
Then decide, has the excess weight come off? It may have come off naturally, just having returned from, even flying, traveling somewhere will increase your weight, and it might be probably because it disrupts your blood salts and water retention and that kind of thing.
Is that a significant?
Yeah, it's really? At least with our clients, it's not a
huge proportion.
Well, it's also that, I mean, it'll affect your scale weight, but it doesn't mean that you've got fatter. It just, that it disrupts the data that you're seeing on the
That's interesting.
on the sheet. Yeah. So wait till you've established a new baseline, and then you can say, look, actually, I'm lean enough. I could do with gaining some muscle. So I'm going to spend the next year gaining muscle, and then by the time I'm up for my next holiday, I can do 5 or 6 weeks before the holiday and just cut a bit of fat.
I think definitely for me, getting back into training as fast as possible is a really big deal. A few things to remember is that if you've just been away on a party holiday and you've filled yourself with all kinds of substances, that first training session, it's going to be pretty uncomfortable. Your sweat's going to be viscous and multicolored, and you're going to be really... it's going to be an unenjoyable experience.
So,
however,
I heard about I don't know whether this is true, but someone said that LSD is stored in your fat cells. And so
there were all of these people who lost weight, who'd been in part of the summer of love in the 60s, and then lost weight during a midlife diet, sort of maybe in the 90s, and were driving along the road, and the adipose cells would have
just released a bunch
dumped a load of psychedelics back into the bloodstream, and there were people tripping while they were driving.
Oh man, I mean,
I'm not sure that the same is true. I'm not sure that the same is true for speed masquerading as cocaine in Zante, but there's definitely, you're going to come back. You're going to feel like shit. Your training's not going to be tremendously good, but you will feel better if you can get yourself back into that routine.
So another benefit to getting a baseline, I suppose, if you had a bunch of substances. Just a couple of weeks where you just
don't obsess over
sleeping
it too
normally
much.
and
get
no drugs.
Get your sleep back. Stop taking drugs. Stop drinking all the time, and get back into some training and enjoy it. Make yourself feel a little bit more healthy. Remember that, and try and fall back in love with training, because the thing that's so impressive to everybody about someone who is lean, that understands what it takes to get lean, is that they appreciate the sacrifice that person's made to get there, because it is a miserable process to not eat as much food as your body wants, and to then try and get your body to exert physical exercises on top of that. Like, it just sucks. So allow yourself to fall back in love with your training. If you've always liked walking, rowing, running, hill sprints, jogging, CrossFit, martial arts, whatever it is, do the training that is going to allow you to remain physically active as easily as possible. And then make sure that you keep on top of your resistance training. Make sure that you're not letting your weights drop too much. Keep tracking your weight when you get home. And then, take it from there. You think we've covered most of the bits there?
Solid advice. I think that's the complete picture. So, to be honest, everything that discussed in this podcast, if you just do this now until your holiday in 8 weeks' time, you're gonna make the most progress that you can in that time.
I think you'd be laughing. So let's break it down again. Going from the top. Find your training partner, someone who you're going away with.
Yeah. Or if you can't find one, accountability partner. There's an app, I think, where you can you put £500 into, or £1,000 or whatever into what's it
like
called?
An escrow account.
Escrow,
and then it gets released if you don't do the thing you said you were going to do. That's one way to motivate yourself. But try and find a training partner.
We have a client that gave £1,000 to his mum and was like, "Mum, if I drink before Friday, then
oh my god,
you got £1,000."
Imagine if your mum just went and spent £1,000.
Oh yeah, or if your mum just kept leaving shots all around your room,
desperately wanting you to do £1,000. Training 3 to 4 times a week resistance, a couple of times of cardio. Maybe on a morning, try and get a 10 to 15, 20 minute walk in, fasted, black coffee before you go.
I also like what you said about just get training done in the morning, and then it's like that's the win for the day.
Yeah, you know that you've ticked it off the list and you don't need to worry about it.
You're also more likely to stick to your diet, because then you've not had a stumbly shit day where, like, I haven't been to the gym and diet's gone out the window or whatever. But whereas if you started it as you mean to go on, then
get some easy wins under your belt, and if the session's one of them, then so be it. Push-pull legs, we think, for a session.
Yep.
A split. You can get a good breakdown of that. propanefitness.com. Have a look at the propane protocol. Diet, you're going to be looking at around about 2,000 calories a day for men and about 15 to 1,600 for women.
To start with,
To begin with.
Then adjust based on how your weight's moving.
Yep, tracking your weight on a morning after you have been for wee and poo, but before you've had food, naked.
Yep.
Set of scales will be linked in the show notes, which you can get. They're like £5 or £6, and they'll do you for the rest of time as well. Myfitnesspal, use that to track your weight and see how your weight's getting on throughout the day. Don't get caught up with too much meal timing, BCAAs before and after training.
Sack all of that stuff. Yeah. Your only goal during the next 8 weeks is hit your average weekly calorie intake and your minimum training volume. Like, don't get hung up on, don't buy any supplements, any of that. It's distraction and masturbation.
So grass-fed, pre-digested MCT oil in your coffee before you train, and Thermopure, and all of the
only if it's the one that costs $100 for the little tub and it's grass-fed, then
right. Okay, then in that case, it's going to make a big difference. And then when you get out there, maybe don't go completely crazy on the baguettes if you've got the option of having vodka Diet Coke on a night, or if you're drinking during the day.
Oh, so that was another thing I was going to mention, actually. Yeah, I forgot about this, which was when you are going out drinking, consider what is your intention. Is your intention, I really like the taste of beer, so I'm going to drink lots of beers? Or is it, I want to get as drunk as I can without gaining fat? If that's the case, then treat alcohol like any other drug. Like, you want to have the highest concentration and to get as drunk as possible for the least amount of money and least amount of calories.
This is such a Yusef approach. I've heard you make this argument like 20 times.
So 10 beers is gonna, let's say a beer is 200 to 300 calories, then you've instantly
your day's caloric intake
completely fucked it. So whereas if you say, right, I'm not going to eat 3-4 hours before I start drinking to sensitize myself to being drunk as much as possible, and then I'm going to have spirits or some high density form of alcohol.
This is the most Muslim approach to trying to get drunk.
Front loaded. So drink as much early as possible in the night, so that you then, by the time you end up going home, it's starting to wear off. You sleep better. You haven't blown your calories too much. You've got the most of the alcohol for the least amount of effort, calories, and time.
I think if anyone implements this on their holiday, if anyone goes, right, lads,
it's probably what people are doing anyway. Just getting as smashed as possible.
You know that evening meal, right? Well, I'm just gonna have neat vodka. Another neat vodka over here, please, darling. And then,
you wouldn't just have one. You'd be like, I'll have 10. Just lay them
right
on the table,
now,
please,
immediately,
and I'll just bash them all in.
So like maximum recoverable volume.
Yeah.
Is this like maximum consumable alcohol?
Yeah, exactly.
Without throwing up.
Hitting all of your maximum. Oh, you don't want to throw up because then you've wasted the money.
Wasted money, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Although you may have got rid of some more calories.
Thing is, I know people that naturally drink like that, but that's more just like it's kind of a novelty thing, isn't it? Like, oh, let's get the Jaeger bombs out, and it's just like, yeah. So
okay, so we've got that. When you come back, start back into training, try and find something that you like, and begin tracking your weight again, and plan for summer 2019 now, as opposed to 8 weeks.
Don't be naughty.
Don't be naughty. Right, okay, bye then.